Mm-hmm.
Howdy, folks.
You should bring it up over there.
Happy Friday.
Hey, everyone. Everyone who is joining us on a Friday before Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for spending some of your Friday with us.
Definitely. We're having some pretty nice weather here in Omaha. Low 80s and sunny predicted all weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be smoking at some point this weekend. Not sure when.
Smoking some chickens. You might want to clarify that, not
Yeah.
cigars. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Chickens and some brats, probably.
hey, Steve. Nice to see you.
We're doing great. We're looking forward to a 3-day weekend.
We
How
sure
about
are.
yourself?
Move that over a little bit. Where are you from, Steve? Drop it in the chats in the comments if you like. It's always fun to see kind of what part of the country people live in, where they're joining us from. I'll share while people are joining. I started off my day in an interesting way today. Taught our middle son how to mow the lawn, and he did great, but it wasn't ideal. The sprinklers had just finished going off, and I think the grass in our backyard was about
Too high.
way too high. So he got to learn how to clear the wet cut grass out of a mower when the blade stops. If any of you can relate to that. But it sure was a nice morning for it in any event. So now that more people are joining, let's go ahead and dive in. The very first thing that we want to talk about is the launch of the new Max app. So awesome, Steve's here from North Carolina. That's great.
I grew up in Richmond, so I've been to North Carolina a fair number of times.
And I have not been yet and would really like to go.
Yes, you have. Charlotte.
Oh, that's right. We did go to Charlotte once, but I'd like to see a little more of this eastern seaboard. Here, North Carolina is beautiful. Anyhow, Max launched on Tuesday, and we tested it all week, and actually we'll have a video coming out soon on our review of it, but we thought we would take a minute just to talk about it. I'm going to try to show you on screen here kind of what it looks like. Let me see if I can bring that up for you. So you can see here, and again, we're going to cover this in depth in our review video, but really it looks pretty much like the old one, and we'll get, after I show you this real quick, we'll get into kind of what the launch was like. But the big change here is that there's new menus along the top. It's not really a big change, but they've put a couple options up here: home, series, movies, HBO, new and notable. And then over on the left hand side on a TV, you'll see a few screens, menu options over here to search, to get to your stuff, and settings. Online, you can get to it over here. Here's your saved stuff. It's not terribly different. Let me get over to the website so you guys can see it here. Rows and rows and rows and rows. This is new. I don't know if you guys remember the hubs that used to be on the left-hand side. Now they're here in a row. So, we'll see if that makes things a little easier for people to access. One thing we'll just show you real quick that we don't love. Okay, see all these rows we're having to scroll through. We get down to the very end at the bottom. To keep going, now you can see it. We have some helpful genre rows here, and this is something that we really wish that, and we hope as they continue to optimize things, they'll bring that up to the top. That's a more helpful way to filter content, and it is put a little bit higher up here in the series, so we can come here and just say we want to see adventure survival stuff. Well, then it's going to populate that stuff here. So there is a dedicated menu for HBO. That's kind of cool. See, movies, HBO. And the other thing that's kind of cool that we liked about it is there's a search function here. The search function, especially on the TV, is improved because you can type anything in, but they have a recommendations row And then they have these hubs here, where they have their channels, which they call Brand Spotlight, and then they have where you can browse by genre. Excuse me. So, curious what your all's thoughts. John's going to run over some of the things about the launch this week, and as he's doing that, take a second to put in the comments, if you use Max, what the experience was like for you this week.
Yeah, obviously the thing I disliked the most was they're changing from purple to blue. That's just being honest. And I jest, but really the blue makes them, in my opinion, sort of blend in with everyone else and with other services, and the purple sort of stood out. They did have quite a bit of they were trending on social media for people not liking the change, running into issues with accessing it on Tuesday. I saw that as well on Wednesday. We actively use a Fire TV device in our main TV upstairs, and we have a Roku in our family room downstairs. The Fire device, great to see you as well, Paul and Artie. The Fire device, it came through seamlessly, no issues, and everything came over. The Roku, Nicole, you were with that one, yep. And what was the experience on that?
That one I had to sign in again to HBO Max, or to Max, I'm sorry. But I didn't have to re-download it, so I don't know. Apples to apples really, because up here we had to re-download it, but we didn't have to log back in on the Fire, and then on our Roku we had to actually log in, but we didn't have to download it.
And I know some people were dealing with having to re-download it, and it's technology, so you are going to run into those issues, but I understand obviously the frustration that people were running into. One thing that we noticed in particular was we have the ad-supported plan, and I would say probably 90+% of the content we watch is HBO content. We'll watch some movies, but it's largely HBO content. There had been rumors before the transition that they were going to start putting ads into HBO content. Never saw them on the old HBO Max app. Well, that they came out of the gate storming, in my opinion, with the new Max app. We've been rewatching through Game of Thrones, and having one ad at the beginning is one thing, whatever, a 15 or 30-second ad, that's no biggie, in my opinion. But we were hit with 4 ad breaks during an hour-long episode. And they were all a minute long, so it's not terrible, but it wasn't a show that was created with ads in mind. And they came at very awkward moments, and at least the first day, all of the ads were for Max, which we get, they're promoting their platform, but it became a little frustrating. Mm-hmm. And then the second day on Wednesday, the ads went away entirely, with the exception of one at the beginning, and then one about a third of the way through, and then it's now back. It's back to 4 ads, and we saw this on a couple other HBO series. Severance, which is ending on Sunday. We're looking forward to that. Severance episodes have not had ads, so it'll be interesting to see what that's like come Sunday. And Discovery Plus shows, it appears to be about 70 to 75% of Discovery Plus content.
Wait a second, you said sure. Severance. Were you meaning Succession?
Succession, sorry.
Succession. That took me a second. Sorry, it's been a long week, y'all.
Succession. Anyway,
Succession. Don't think if y'all watch it, it's a really good show. Succession, thank you for catching that. But Discovery Plus, about 70-75% of the content appears to have come over, but it doesn't seem that it's in necessarily a logical way that it was done. Nicole watches more Discovery Plus type content. And actually, I'm pretty happy with it. It has the shows I tend to like on there are like House Hunters International, and places where people go somewhere warm and they find some beautiful house for them and their families to live in. So I found there was enough content there for me, but Again, I don't watch it every day. I'm usually too busy, and so it's like maybe once a week that I have the time just to sit down and relax with a cup of coffee and watch it. But for me, so if you're like me, I think you're going to be happy with the amount of content there. If you primarily watch Discovery Plus, then you might not, because again, 25% of it's missing. But I feel like they really tried to get the most popular shows on there, and quite a bit of content from the most popular shows, including lots of back seasons.
And Paul brings up a good question about harder to find kids content. Nicole, what was your experience with that? Do you want to show the...
Sure, yeah, let's take a look at it. Sorry, I got out of that. Let me back over to Max. So let's just take a look. I mean, this is the home page, and I don't think that there's a ton of kids content on here, honestly. Let's see what happens if we scroll. I want to say there was a kids and family, yeah. So here, see, we've got a kids and family tile. And I guess, that's pretty far up on the home screen. So then once you're in here, I think, they've done a fairly decent job of centralizing that content.
And we said this in our review that we are filming today, actually, but they do allow to have a PIN code to block content.
Yeah, and kids profiles, so you could set that up. I was just looking here to see. Yeah, and so if you go to series, you can grab it here too. So I think it's okay.
And we didn't experience this, but there was an issue on the first day of kids for kids content that there was some movies that were showing that had violence or nudity, like the one I read in particular, if you remember the old Michael J. Fox movie from the early 90s, Doc Hollywood, there's a scene in there, and it wasn't rated R. It was rated PG-13, so it made it through. But from our experience, we've been able to set up kids profile for our children because our oldest is 15, so we want to protect them against seeing any kind of mature content.
And I can't remember if John said this, you can, within the kids profile, you can select by age. There's like 4 or 5 options from youth up to age 14, where you can block off any level on those steps of content. So I thought that was nice to see in a parental controls.
Yeah, so overall, we don't think there's a ton of change. Some of the mechanics of it, we think what they're going for, I think that they've achieved in terms of moving around a little easier and things moving a little quicker. But yeah, there's obviously some kinks that they're going to have to work through. So next, anything else on HBO?
No, I think that's good. Let's move on to the next thing. This is really pretty exciting news for sports fans. So I guess I can kick it off, but you probably have a little bit more of this top of mind than I do. But ESPN, so the New York Post is reporting,
as we discussed last week. Yep,
and New York Post is now reporting that a standalone ESPN service will launch in 2025 or 2026.
Yeah.
So
rumors.
Just rumors. It actually makes sense if you think about it, because it's going to take ESPN some time to work out agreements. Negotiate contracts and agreements with all the leagues. And if all of that stuff has been set up for cable and broadcast, then there's just time involved in maybe breaking some of those or renegotiating them. And so it's reasonable to expect it could take a few years to get there. Also, some of the other news out about this is that the new direct-to-consumer ESPN streaming service will not be ESPN Plus. And we don't know. I don't know if you've read a little bit more about that, John. Do you think ESPN Plus will continue to exist on its own, or what are we seeing here?
I have not seen anything on that. I have read that numbers of ESPN Plus subscribers are in the 25 million range. Early estimates for an ESPN standalone would be 60 million. And so from what I've read, it's saying that stuff like Monday Night Football and all the big things would be moving to this ESPN standalone streaming service. eventually. And again, just coming, working through those agreements with the different leagues and conferences. Pricing, we discussed this last week. The most common number that I have seen is in the $15 range. Lowest I've seen, one analyst has it at $12 potentially, but I really see it probably coming in at a $14 to $15.99 price range per month. And for someone like us, ESPN is the only reason why we have Sling during the year. And
not even all of us, really, for two of us.
What can I say?
John and our middle son love to watch Get Up every morning. I don't know if you've shared that with them.
Yeah.
So
and football. So anyway, that's the only that and Fox Sports.
And his love for basketball, growing love for basketball too.
Yeah.
So
and so that seems to be it on the ESPN front. Nothing earth-shattering right now, just that it's gonna, after that excitement of that they are going to be launching this, or that they're in active negotiations, it's going to be a while before we see it.
Yep.
But again, it's Disney, so who knows?
Just thought we'd move on to our next item, but as we do, if you have some, we would love to hear what you think would be a good price, what you'd be willing to pay for ESPN as a standalone. So go ahead and throw that up in the comments if you want to. And we'll move on to this next story, which is Netflix password sharing crackdown. So that went into effect this week, Tuesday, actually the same day that Max launched. Netflix has been saying that they were going to do this for some time. So, they finally have done it. They put something out on their blog. They have told members who share an account with an out-of-household viewer, if you have somebody who's outside of your household who's using your account, that you should expect an email from Netflix informing you about password sharing and how things have changed. Members who are sharing with the same household won't be affected. So this affects John and I when we travel. One of us will often, log into Netflix away from the home. Netflix knows that. I think the way they're going to do this, and we did a video about this back when this was announced. A few months ago, but I think they'll probably ask, do like a dual factor authentication or something like that. Email the main account holder or text them and ask, send them a code, and then you'll have to put it in. Something like that. But they will allow you, so if you're like us, you're in that situation, you will continue to be able to share outside of your home. But if that's not the case and you have someone who just is using your account and lives somewhere else, that is what Netflix is going to start cracking down on. Now, they have given you a couple of options. So you can, first of all, and I think this is great, transfer your profile. So let's just say if our daughter was older, 10 years older and out and still using Netflix that we were paying for.
She needs to pay for it.
She does, yes. I'm just hypothetically. She could transfer her profile, so she would get all of her watch history saved, and then she would pay for her own account. So she would fall off of ours, and it would be at the standard price. The other option, if we wanted to continue paying for her in this hypothetical example, we could do that for a $2 price break. So it'd be, I think, $8 instead of $10, for example, for the basic without ads plan. So, I personally think it's reasonable. I realize it's not going to be popular, but, I'm of the mind that content's expensive to create. We know we create content. Obviously, we're not creating movies that people are watching and loving, but it takes time, it takes effort, it costs a lot of money. And if Netflix doesn't do this, they would just have to raise the price for all of us who are paying. So I think it's reasonable. And again, we know why Netflix is doing this is because they need revenue. If you followed the news, they were getting a lot of pressure from investors to become profitable, as all streaming services are now. And their ad-supported plan hasn't really caught on the way they'd hoped. And so by doing this, I'm trying to remember what the estimates were. It's
several billion.
Yeah, multiple billions of dollars that Netflix is going to earn by doing this. So there you go.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And that's a good point about putting a cookie on a laptop from home so you can travel with it. That's not something personally that we have done. Usually we're in a rental where we can access it, through logging in on the smart TV at our rental that we're staying at. So that's a good point. So yeah, there's really nothing more to that. Has anyone run into that and receiving that email from Netflix? Let us know. And it's gonna be interesting to see how that impacts the space, and if other streaming services, which would not surprise us at all, move to that more actively. The next bit of news, moving on from there, is the date has become official in terms of Paramount Plus rolling in Showtime into plans.
Get rid of this so you can see. There we go. There you go.
So it's going to be on June 27th. That's going to be taking place. And there will be a slight price increase associated with this. I always get it confused, Paramount. So it's the essential plan is the lower plan. That's going to be going up by $1, and premium will be going up $2 for that pricing, and to $11.99. Sorry, I'll be going up $2 to $11.99, and it's really important to understand that premium is really going to be the main one. Is going to be the main one that gets the beneficiary of this. I don't know if anything of substance will be coming over into the essential plan. The issue is going to be people who, for example, take advantage of the Black Friday deals and are paid through November or December. What they're going to have to do. I spent some time this week reading through the FAQs. It does seem a bit cumbersome in terms of what they're going to do. It looks like, from what I can tell at the outset, that Showtime will not just be rolled into what you have. You can have, or they will offer that ability to add it into your plan at a prorated price, or you can just wait until whenever your annual pricing renews, and then they would automatically bump you to that. Another issue is, was speaking with a viewer earlier this week, if you have two different plans in your home, or if you have children in your home that you want to protect against seeing that mature content that Showtime can have, that will be an issue.
I think you said this viewer in particular said that they have two different plans because they want to keep children and grandchildren out of the Showtime content. And so now that they're coming together, I think it's reasonable to assume, and I really hope they do this, just to take kind of the same approach as we showed with Max, where you can create a kid's profile and you can do it by age, and that way, and you can set a pin to protect it, and that would block all the inappropriate content off, so that you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and a key reason why they're doing this in part is to cut costs again, and looking at that profitability aspect, it will allow them to increase the number of eyeballs that they can pitch to advertisers. Paul has a couple good questions. Would Netflix take the Sling method of restricting fewer streams per user? That's possible. Like, we have the basic plan, because we didn't like the ads plan, but that's only one stream. The with ads is 2 streams and on up. It's certainly possible that they could do that. And also, I do expect to see more services merging similar to Paramount and Showtime. I think we will. And it's really twofold there. It's cutting production costs for them, and
advertising.
And advertising. Which, those are the two key things for them to increase profitability. Who was it? We said this in our review. Who was it that said that you could even, they foresaw Max and Disney?
Right, that was David Zaslav, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO, just kind of floated at a conference that, you know, he does believe bundling is the future, and he thought that a bundle between Max and like Disney Plus would bring all of the top services together into one. So, you know, you'd pay one price, you'd get everything in Max. Now, I don't know if he was also meaning everything in the Disney bundle, you know, Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. You know, that would be interesting, and it would be interesting to see how they would handle sign-on and navigating the content. And but at least it would simplify your payments. So. But
that said, I do think more bundling is going to be coming in the near future.
And we have a video coming out soon on why ad-supported plans are so popular right now. And in that, one of the things we touch on is that bundling, and I hadn't thought of it this way till I was researching for the video, but it makes sense when you think about it. The other main benefit of a bundle is that then that streaming service, or really the media company that owns it, can sell more eyeballs to advertisers, and that's what they want. They want the advertising revenue. So they will tell us it's to create a better user experience and to keep costs down, but really they want those eyeballs so they can get more advertising dollars.
Yeah, and Steve brings up a good point. There are going to be people that don't want everything, and I totally understand that. And, you know, could just, again, using that time to get it for a month or two when you want it, binge what you want and get rid of it. Moving on, yeah, anything else?
I just was going to say thanks, me, for, you know, thanking us for our work. Appreciate you all for tuning in.
Yes, definitely.
And just to see that Steve, you know, that you're saying you're not happy about them forcing that Showtime edition. And I wanted to bring that up, call out your comment, because that is a downside too. Again, they're going to tell us it's better for us, but I feel like it moves us a little bit closer to cable every time they do that. And especially if they force us to pay more for channels that we didn't necessarily want. So
and especially considering that Paramount Plus has one of the worst ad loads in the space. So yeah, that's definitely all something to consider. Moving into another issue is with Peacock, and we discussed this last week with the NFL, and already have discussed it at detail about the regular season game between the Chargers and the Bills. It's going to be only on Peacock, and then the game, the playoff game that they're going to be doing, that they paid $110 million for, that will be available in the 2 local markets, but outside of that, only on Peacock. Not surprisingly, and we're going to be getting to that, Paul, on Sunday Ticket. It's not surprisingly, it's a trial balloon that the NFL has put up there, and I believe that it's obvious that they're wanting to move to more streaming, as cable is dying, and live sports is what keeping cable alive. They're moving to more streaming, and we've seen it already. NBA playoff games are large, other than the finals. NBA playoff games are strictly on cable services for the most part. So I foresee it continuing this way.
And let me say for a second here, John, and you guys who watch us, you know, we always like to try to explain the why behind the news, because we just think it's better when we know what's going on. And so we wanted to share this tweet from Jim Trotter with y'all about this topic. He says he spoke to a well-placed source.
He's a reporter from The Athletic.
Spoke to a well-placed source about the NFL's agreement to stream a playoff game on Peacock. The person had an interesting and an informed perspective, saying the league was playing offense and defense. On offense, the NFL gets about $110 million that's woo, 110 million to do a test run on exclusively streaming a playoff game. If things go well, not only can it raise the rights fee next season, but potentially sell exclusive streaming rights to a second playoff game. And then on defense, he says, I'm told Amazon is a tough negotiator, and if things go sideways in the next round of negotiations with Amazon, the league wants to know that it has options to go elsewhere. Leverage is the key word.
Yeah. So, like streaming services, the NFL is going to do what's in their best interests and what's going to make them the most money. So I foresee this continuing to happen in the next few seasons to move more towards streaming. And we're seeing it in college football as well, with the Pac-12 at least attempting to try and get work with a streaming service. So it's only going to continue. And this dovetails nicely with YouTube TV announcing late this week that they're going to allow unlimited streams of Sunday Ticket at your home, and I believe it's 2 on the go. And this is going to be for both subscribers to YouTube TV and YouTube primetime channels. I personally like it. I think it's the right move for them. I think it's potentially seeing the pushback that they have seen from some of the things like not offering a monthly payment plan, no student discount, things of that nature that DIRECTV had been allowing, but YouTube TV was not. And so I think it's a good move by them. And yeah, we have been going back and forth. We're going to be subscribing to it this year, just because there's a lot of questions about it, and I want to be able to serve those that have questions on it. And
so we decided we're going to sign up for it so we can do a good review of it for you guys, and
some other related videos that we
plus our son
have planned.
It made our son's day when we told him.
He's over the moon about it. But yeah, I think it's a good move for them, and hopefully more signs of them being willing to flex. There had been hopes initially of offering single team plans, which, as of right now is not something not going to be doing. Hopefully they will in the future. They had rumors were out there that they might offer like a grouping of games. So who knows? And so anyway, I think it's a good move, and it could also be in reaction to signups. I don't know. I've not seen anything in terms of signups, but anything that they can attract more, they're going to do. So yeah, and
welcome, Space Ghost.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We don't care that you're late. We're glad you're here.
Yep.
And backtracking, I've not heard that Max, Artie, you asked, is Max considering a live news channel? Have you read that? I mean, it makes sense because, you've got CNN.
Yeah, there have been talks about it. I have not read anything recently, as in the last week or so. They have stuff from Anderson Cooper's show. I want to say Chris Wallace has a show as well. And I had read a couple weeks ago and I think that they promoted it in their event that they had a month or 6 weeks ago to announce it. It certainly is possible, and I think, given what we're seeing from platforms like Peacock, that if you subscribe to their higher price tier, you're going to get your live local. Same with Paramount. It would make sense to me, and it would be something to for them, they would hope that would get them more subs. It's certainly possible that we could see them.
And we know that they're looking at their own fast channel, their own free channel, kind of like Tubi or Pluto, and I could see them putting some free ad channels live news channels on there.
Yeah, and many of the fast platforms out there already show like an aggregated version of the different news channels, so it's certainly possible.
And if you're looking for that, Artie, and you haven't checked out Haystack News lately, that's a good service to look at. We did a review on the channel recently about it, and like even in Omaha, we found multiple of our local news stations had feeds in Haystack News, and it's free, so that's a good option to check out.
Yep. And one last thing, since we're already over on time, is Comcast announced that they are going to be launching their own service called
Cable Light.
Yes, Cable Light.
For $20 a month.
Yeah, Now TV, was that the name of it?
Now TV. Yep.
Now
got
TV.
it up there on the screen for you.
And I'll let you talk about it.
Just it's a move for them to keep customers. We've been talking about how cable and satellite are bleeding customers, so they want to try and keep them. It's for internet subscribers only, I believe. So you can't.
Xfinity.
Yeah, you can't just. Not anyone can sign up for it right now, anyway. It does not require an additional set-top box. You can sign up or cancel at any time. And there's going to be more than 40 channels, including ones like A&E, AMC, Discovery, Food Network, all the Hallmark channels, HGTV, History, Lifetime Movie Network, Military History, Weather Channel, Travel Channel. So, that's in TLC. And they're also giving you Peacock Premium and 20 free or fast channels. So at first I was like, huh? And then I remembered that Comcast Universal owns
Zumo.
NBC, and they own Zumo, and therefore they also own Peacock, since Peacock is NBC Universal's streaming platform. So, it makes sense that they're throwing that in there to try to really make it enticing to people. They don't want to lose their internet customers. And if you think long term about this, they know cable is going away, but internet is not going away. So now all these cable companies that also do internet really need to hold on to their internet subscribers as much as they can. So I think that's, otherwise if you have, like Google does Google Fiber, they own YouTube TV. It's conceivable to see how streaming first services could also start getting internet and just kind of flip the tables.
We'll see. And it's not something that, we only have Cox in our area, and we're not fans of Cox. No. So it's not something that we're going to be able to test or try here for us. But it was just an interesting thing to see, with some services canceling, getting rid of their cable and moving to YouTube TV to customers. It's just interesting to see these changes.
Yep. So really that does it. We're over a little, but we're glad you guys hung with us. We can hang out here just for another minute in case anyone has any, comments or questions about anything we discussed today before we go. Paul, you're saying Comcast is taking a page from Spectrum Light TV package. So Spectrum's doing something similar. Yeah. Not surprising. I think they all watch each other. Well, I know they do. Yeah. Everyone on the streaming side is watching Warner Brothers right now, Warner Brothers Discovery. Whoever's willing to get there or can get there first kind of sets the That's interesting, Space Ghost. My first thing to John when I saw this, my first thought was Philo. And I said, so they're trying to compete with Philo. And then we talked about it some more and realized, well, really it's for their internet customers only. I think if they broaden it beyond and make it available to anyone and they keep it at $20, I think it is reasonable to say they're, competing with Philo.
It's Comcast though, so.
Yeah, and if they kept Peacock thrown in there, I think that would give them a leg up on Philo. And Philo's $25, but they haven't said anything about DVR for this service, right? At least that we know of yet. If any of you guys try it out, please, let us know on the channel what you think of it. And
I agree with Space Ghost. I would take Philo over a Comcast package. It gets you 25, 30 additional channels. And I would rather have that freedom away from Comcast, if that's possible in your area. But again, it's interesting to see.
And Mona, we're seeing you're commenting there that you dumped YouTube TV because the rates are going up. And we say, good for you, because, they are going to continue to go up, $73 a month. If you don't need everything on YouTube TV, very smart to cancel and try to find the cheapest way to get what you really watch the most and just put some dollars back in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Yes, thanks, Paul. Y'all have a safe Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy. We'll see y'all next Friday, and we'll look forward to hearing what you grilled or what you streamed over the weekend. So thanks again for joining us, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Yes, have a great weekend, everyone.